What's up, Attack MMA? I'm your host, Zach Weicker, and today we got a very special guest. He's a professional fighter with an 18-6 record. He'll be fighting at UFC Fight Night on March 30th in Atlantic City. Please welcome Julio Arce. Julio, how are we doing today?
Doing great, my man. The time's it's getting close. It's getting close. Almost time to fight.
I love that, man. And right before you mentioned to me that you're trading, so what was the first memory that you have when you first stepped into Tiger Schulmanns?
Honestly, it was I fell in love with it because it was one of those things where I'm like, damn, the only way to get good is to hold myself, like, it's accountability and to just show up and put in the work to get good. Like, nobody's gonna get me good but me showing up. Of course, you have the guidance of the coaches, but I was like, I gotta go in, put the work, whether it's I have a good day of training, a hard day of training. If it didn't go, whatever it is, like, dude, show up and just put in that work.
Yeah, and what's great about Tiger Schulmanns, there's a lot of great coaches and senseis there. So what are your relationships like with them?
Honestly, I'm honored I got to step into the school that I did, which is now currently I'm part owner in that location. It's in Bayside, Queens, and my mentor, is Brian Godhofer, and I'm lucky to have walked into his school because he to me was one of the most just upfront people from the very beginning. Look, I never got sugar coated with anything. He gave me a pat on the back where I deserved it, and when when I knew I had to step it up, he told me, like, and it's the honesty of my coach and being that direct and guiding me through, just not not just the mixed martial arts journey, but through, you know, life itself. It taught me a lot of life lessons that, to learn as a teenager. And, once, like, I fell in love with this, like, yo, I'm all in with this. I want to train, I want to fight, I want to teach martial arts. This became my passion because it did so much for me.
Definitely. And you mentioned there that you start with Tiger Schulmanns at one of those smaller schools in one of those local areas. So when did you first realize that you can go pro and you got sent to the headquarters?
So for me, it was started like when I did like my first couple of like in-house tournaments. So like we have this tournament called the Challenge of Champions, and it's just all the Tiger Schulmann schools gathered, and it's like, you go with other students, your level, your rank as you're coming up. And, I go in there and like, my coaches saw a lot of, they saw potential in me. They're like, dude, just go compete. Like, we don't care if you win or lose, just go and experience. And got in there. I was like, yo, it's great. Next thing you know, they're like, all right, you're going to go do these Naga tournaments, like jiu-jitsu tournaments, Grappler's Quest, all this, like, just go do them. And I traveled, I had my sisters who would ride with me, and they would just show support from every competition that I did. They're always like screaming, they're the loudest in the room. And, they're like, look, do this, do that. When I turned 18, I was like itching to just get my first, amateur fight, because back then you had to be 18 years old to be able to fight. So, got my first fight. And then from there, I'm like, yo, I can take this far. And that's, once I got to the competition level, like, and you start learning, holy shit, there's this whole world out there of mixed martial arts. Because look, I went from being this average kid. I had no idea what the UFC was. I had no idea what, mixed martial arts was in general. I kind of just saw it in like Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, yo, it's pretty cool. Like, if this shit is real life, I'd be all about it. But, you know, once I started training, I didn't know that there was so many levels to this. And I got so intrigued by it. And I was like, yo, I want to take this journey. And here I am today.
That's excellent. And you mentioned the Challenge of Champions there, which I think is a phenomenal tournament that Tiger Schulmann puts on. And I actually competed that last summer. So what was your first
Really?
memory? Yeah. What was your first memory when you first stepped onto the mat in the Challenge of Champions?
I honestly, I was actually like super nervous because it was my first competition. I didn't know what to expect. So, like when you have your first match and your forearms are like lead, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm breathing hard. I got past the first match, but like your arms are just super dense and you're like, your body just feels heavy. But then once you go back in there, like you're fighting with all your might. And it was great. And like I think I got like second or third place. I remember it was I was doing I think back then I think we were doing submissions in the beginner division, and I lost by like 1 point. But it was like a great experience because I'm like, yo, this is crazy. This is freaking cool. Because then you watch like the more experienced people and like they're doing some crazy shit, and you're like, what is that? And you're like, it's like everything. I was just like, yo, what is all this? I just started like downloading. I'm like, I want to know more. And like back then, like honestly, years ago, before like everything got thrown on like YouTube and like online, they have like the jujitsu books of like all of this. You like look up the moves. I'll go to Barnes and Nobles and sit in like their sports section, find like all the jujitsu books, and I was just like, yo, what is this crazy move? Let me learn this. And so it's a great journey because it's like you never stop it. Like you never stop improving. You never stop learning. And it just keeps evolving. So it makes it even great because it's just like, even look, whether you fight or not, it's like there's so much to it. And you're always taking in knowledge. And I love that because you can never say, I'm too good to learn. It's like, nah, there's so much more. Even today, there's so much more.
Yeah, for sure. And now you're training people in Bayside for these tournaments. So what is it like for you to own your own gym and to be able to share your knowledge onto others?
It's honestly a blessing because I get to do what I love every single day. Honestly, I teach from 4 o'clock until 10 o'clock at night. I work for 5 hours. I get to train in the morning, and then I teach for 4 or 5 hours. And it's great because I see the adults, the kids, the younger kids, the children, they start to really pick everything up. And you're like, yo, they're absorbing this stuff and they try all the moves that you show them. And then when they compete, like you see them become like, and even you look at it, you're like, damn, these kids are just like, they're going to be better than I'm ever going to be, than I'm going to be. Like, we get to the point we get to a certain level and then you're like, my objective is I want these kids to be better than I ever was. And it's so rewarding because, some of these kids grasp the concept and you're like, yo, these kids are going to be savages. And they're just, like 10, 12, 11, some younger that you're just like, yo, these kids have like such skill and it's unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure, man. I coach wrestling, so like I see like these third graders that are really good. And it's like, wow, like these third graders are better than some eighth graders. So it's really fascinating to see that. So is there like a favorite? Because of course, Tiger Schulmann, you teach a lot of classes. Do you have like a favorite age level, a favorite like type of experience that you like to teach? What's your favorite type of class?
So I love teaching, the advanced kids, like, from like 10 to like 10 into like the teenagers because like they're always intrigued by, they're like, oh, how am I gonna learn this? Like I want to do this. And every time that I show them something, like they just download it, and then you see them try and you're like, all right, like get it. And then they start to get in, they start to use their creativity. Like, I always tell them, I'm like, look, I'll show you guys a move, and there's going to be many other ways to do it. And guess what? Try them all. Try them all. Like, I'm not the end all be all. I'm showing you guys a basic foundation, and you guys expand it. And, and that's all these kids come up. I'm like, everyone's learning the same, basic movements, techniques. But then as you notice, they all start to build their own style, and they kind of have their own uniqueness. Right? Some kids are going to be good at this. Some kids are going to be good at something else. Some kids are going to be better with their striking. Other kids will be better with their jujitsu. Some kids can blend it together really well. So it's super rewarding. And the fact that they just continue to take this knowledge and they don't let it deter them, like They just, okay, they show up, some days will be tough, some days they'll be good, but it's like they just keep showing up. And I always just let them know, it's like, look, I'm not gonna ever give up on you guys, and don't ever give up on yourself. Like, this is part of the process, part of learning. Sometimes you're gonna get taken out of your comfort zone, and that's good. It's okay. It's okay. You're gonna grow, and you guys are gonna be unbelievable. So just keep at it. So it's super rewarding.
Yeah, that's really awesome, man. It really is. And now let's talk about the fight. You'll be fighting Herbert Burns. So, what's your thoughts on your opponent's fighting style and strengths?
You know what? I've been watching videos nonstop. He is very well known for his jujitsu. Him and Herbert and Gilbert Burns. I watched a bunch of his fights, and it's gonna be an exciting matchup. It's just gonna be like chaos, because I know we've both been out for a while. We both came out of knee injuries, and now we're back in there. It's about to just go down. It's both of us go in there and leave it all in there. That's it. Put the best foot forward and just show up and go to work.
Yeah, definitely, man. And on paper, obviously, he's the grappler, and on paper, it probably looks like you have the advantage in the striking realm. But where else do you believe you stand out against your opponent?
I think in the conditioning, it's been my key to everything. All my fights is I'm able to go rounds endlessly. I'm able to just go all 3 rounds, and I'm gonna look to push the pace and take him to where I want him to be.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in his last fight, there is a lot of questions about his conditioning. But this fight, which makes it unique, is you're going to 145. So, how do you currently feel at that weight class?
I feel healthy, man. Like, I can make 35, but the recovery from 35, it's detrimental to me. Like, look, um, you know, we're both in our 30s. And for me, like, you get, as you get older, it's like those weight cuts start to get difficult. I can make it. I even told I went to the matchmaker. I'm like, look, if there's a good fight at 35, I'll do it. Just give me a heads up, because I'm like I'll be down to it. So, like, if somebody would, they were like, all right, fight Cody Garbrandt again, I'm like, all right, go for it. I'll drop to 35. But after coming back from, after being out for a year, after surgery, you do put on a little weight. And I was like, I want to be at a healthy way where I can perform. It is my last fight, the last fight of my contract. I want to go out there and just give it my all at my healthiest. And 45 is the way to do it, instead of trying to die to make 35.
Yeah. And is there anything in your diet that has changed at all?
Oh, yeah. I got Eric Pena, who been in charge of my nutrition. He has made this easy where, like, I can eat. I'm eating everything healthy. Like, he's, sending me my meal plans and everything, but it's like, it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable weight cut. Like, it still sucks because you got to cut weight, but, it's so dialed in that he makes it easier for me where I can still enjoy my food and not be like, oh God, like way back then before, nutritionists and all this. And, it was kind of a little bit of the Wild Wild West. It's like when I was fighting Ring Combat days, like, all right, chicken, brown rice, and broccoli. Be like, oh, kill me with this. Now it's like, he's like, have this, have that. I'm like, all right, cool. I tried duck for the first time the other day. I'm like, oh, it's delicious, man.
That's great. And as someone that used to wrestle, the weight cut is a lot harder than the match sometimes. So it's good that you're able to enjoy it. So I'm happy for you there. And you mentioned Ring of Combat, where you fought in Atlantic City a bunch with that promotion. So how important and special is it for you to go back to Atlantic City with the UFC?
It's pretty awesome, because it's like the final fight on my contract is back where I started in Atlantic City. That's where I started Ring of Combat, and that's where I'll have the last fight of my contract in Atlantic City. It's kind of funny.
And of course, it is close to where you're from. So, how many family and friends do you expect to be at the fight?
There's gonna be a lot of people there. I mean, you got also a lot of people from New Jersey fighting in that card. So it's gonna be a packed place. And New Jersey always comes out strong. People from New York will drive down, a little AC weekend. So can't wait, man. It's gonna be a great showing over there.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely an exciting one. And stylistically, how are you looking at this fight?
We have our game plan set, and I honestly just can't wait to just get in there and leave it all in that ring, leave there with my hand raised in victory, and then we move on to the next. That's it. Mindset is I'm locked into what I want right now.
I love to hear that. And you mentioned a few seconds ago that this is the last fight on your contract. So, do you feel any extra pressure with that stipulation?
Honestly, no. At first, a couple times you look at it and you're like, um, damn, what's gonna happen after? Honestly, whatever happens after, happens after. You can't be afraid of the unknown. Just gonna go into it, 2 feet, face ahead on, and I'm just gonna give it the best and just be focused on what's in front of me, and that's my opponent, and give it the best showing I have.
I love to hear that, man. I really do. And of course, last year you were supposed to fight Cody Garbrandt, which unfortunately that got canceled due to injury. How frustrating and disappointing was that for you, especially knowing how big of a name Cody Garbrandt is?
You know what? That one kind of hit me hard because I was super hyped for that. I'm like, it was like a moment to be like, all right, they put me against the former bantamweight champion. Like, who cares what his last couple fights? I don't care. Like, that's a big name, regardless. And then next thing you know, it's like, boom, I get injured and I'm out. And it was just so frustrating because you got to get surgery, you got to be on the shelf, but the recovery went amazing. I actually got to give a shout out to first Dr. Chris Ahmad from Columbia University, who did my surgery, did a fantastic job, and then to Dr. Brian from Edge Pro PT, who like literally the next day, like after surgery, I came out. He texted me like, "Look, tomorrow I want you in," and we were on it the whole year. Like every day, we're just like boom, boom, one after the other, banging out PT sessions, and it's like it was great. It was a little bit like mentally, you have to push yourself like physically, mentally, but did everything that had to be done. Feel amazing. So got to give them a shout out, and of course, always to my team, Tiger Schulmanns, who just these guys are they're my friend. They're my family right there. So they always been there pushing me through anything. So it's been it was an interesting year, but a great year.
Yeah, for sure. And to expand on that, that is a very discouraging moment when you get a huge injury like that. So during those hard times, what kept you motivating and made you see the bright at the end of the tunnel?
The good thing about this, although it sucks getting injured, um, back then back then I had double elbow surgery, and it happened right before COVID, so we were all locked down, so we couldn't move anywhere. This year, this time, after every time that I went to PT, I was able to do after PT, go sit and watch all my teammates training. And as I was doing that, like I just took down notes and I just sat down. I got to sit and observe everybody. Like, whoever was teaching, I was like, all right, let me learn. And I got to just be in the gym even when I was hurt. So like, I'll go to PT, go to my gym, do some lifts, and then just sit and just watch. Even if it's for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just watch everybody train and just learn. And I took a step out. Took a step back and just kind of watch from the outside and just learn. So then when it was time to step back in, it felt like I never left.
That's great, really is. And was there anything, because you had a lot of time off, was there anything else that you did to kind of filling that time, filling that a lot of extra space that you had of not training?
Um, yeah, actually, it was during that whole time. Like it was a lot of really building your mind. You start because also you don't want to drive yourself like you don't want to drive yourself crazy. Like you're each time you're trying to make the most of it, and you have to understand that there's a process to getting there. So the first couple of weeks, it's a little frustrating because like you either on crutches or on one crutch, and you have this big brace locking your leg out, and you can only do so much. Um, but when you look at it, it's like just took it one step at a time, one day at a time. Um, I got to, like I was still at my school teaching and just sat and watch, like walk my students through whatever they needed to. They saw me there. They saw me still doing what I like, doing my best, even with like a brace and my leg all jacked up. And I'm like, yo, I'm trying to do everything I can to stay busy. So showing them that regardless whatever happens, like find a way to make it work. And it's kind of like just that fighter mentality in a lot of us that, yeah, we get injured. Okay, find a way around it, find a way to make it work, but don't just, stop because you're a little hurt. It's like, find a way, just be smart and do your best.
That's the right way to look at it. And eventually, when you're able to get back into training, how did that feel?
It was, it was just one of the sweetest things ever mental because during that time off, you also realize, it's like, man, you get all these injuries, you get these things that put you on the shelf, and people think, no, maybe that's it. But it just made me want it more. It made me want to come back to fighting more. Like, I love doing martial arts in general. Like, and when I came back to training, it felt like I never left. Like I was, focused a lot on my boxing since I couldn't really kick or anything. Once they told me it's like, okay, you can start kicking a little bit more. I was like, all right, like, say less. Let's go. Like, all right, you can start grappling a little more. I was like, all right, awesome. Let's get right into it. So it was staying patient. And then once they're like, okay, I spoke to my management. I was like, look, I wanna fight by this date. They're like, it's like, you sure? I'm like, I'm clear to go. Let's do it. And here we are, man. Here we are.
Yes, we are. And on that Cody Garbrandt fight, would that still be a fight that interests you down the line one day?
Yeah, yeah. Listen, if they offer me that fight, I'll be like, yo, I'll drop to 35 and do it. That's a high profile fight. I'll do it. No problem. Just give me ahead of time. Don't give me a late notice. If I get a late notice, making 35, it'd be tough, but I would definitely take that fight.
Yeah, one that you truly do deserve. And he's fighting shortly at UFC 300 against Figueiredo. So, what's your thoughts on that matchup?
You know what? I was actually talking with my teammates about this, and it's wild that they're on the prelims. I look at like you have all these like former world champions on the prelims. It's freaking crazy, but I think it's going to be an insane fight. Everyone wants to jump up, so let's see the hunger they come to fight with. That makes sense.
Yeah. And what makes it even crazier is that is the first fight. That's on the early prelims, not even the normal prelims. So
Yeah.
this shows kind of how stacked this card is, but you see a lot of fans still upset about the card and still frustrated with UFC 300. So what's your thoughts on all the fans that are not really a fan of this card?
You know what? You can't please everybody. That's it. You can't make everybody happy. So it's what it is. Look, it's honestly stacked from top to bottom. Now let's just see how it plays out.
Exactly.
Well,
And yeah, and you are Colombian, so how important is it for you to represent that country in the cage and just to show them off every time you go out there?
it makes me proud because it also, I hope that it opens the door for a lot more Colombian fighters to get a shot to go into the UFC. I mean, I don't think you really see a lot of them in the UFC. I think it's only like three, 3 or 4 of us in there, even less. And we have a lot of talent there. I think it gets overshadowed because like it's more of like a soccer. Everyone loves soccer a lot, but there's a pool of talent in there, and I hope me being there gives them a spotlight for more Colombian or just like any South American fighter go in there, but especially Colombian fighters.
Definitely. It'd be great to see more countries have a little more representation in the UFC. But my final question for you is, since you are someone that teaches and trains a lot of fighters, if you can give any piece of advice to any aspiring MMA fighter or anyone that wants to get into the sport, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to go to a gym that's going to really watch out for you, that's going to really build you as a fighter. Um, don't be in a rush and take to the coaching. Like go in there, build your skill, build a good base. If you have somebody that's gonna be like, I'll get you going in a month, I'll get you fighting. Don't like find a good gym, work, show up. It's gonna be rough. You're gonna have the ups and downs, but just keep showing up, keep putting your best foot forward, right? You're gonna get challenged physically, mentally, but just don't give up, man. Don't give up. If you want to fight, like chase it and go get it. Because there's people that say they want to fight until you got to do what fighters got to do, and that's where some people are like, this is me just saying it. Like if you're gonna commit to it, like really commit to it and go on with 2 feet and give it your best.
Yeah. Excellent piece of advice right there. Is there anything you want to shout out or plug before you head out of here?
Always my team, Tiger Schulmann, right? Again, going on to 24 years of training under Tiger Schulmann. So I always thank them, thank my teammates. I thank my family. I thank all my people in Colombia. Shout out to my dad and to all the people like in Santander. To the people at Edge Pro PT, Dr. Brian, who's been amazing with the whole knee ACL rehab. Dr. Chris Ahmad, who did my surgery. Coach Nick at TNT Training, and just everyone who's been part of this journey. My students, family, everyone who's just showing support, show love all the time, and I always can't thank them enough. I'm always just grateful to have so many amazing people in my life that just continue to elevate me and push me to be better than ever every day of my life. So always give them a shout out.
That's
Always
amazing.
much love to them.
That's amazing, man. Julio, it's been more than a pleasure having you on. Folks, that'll be all for today. Until next time, peace.